the respiratory system. Let's see if I can get this to work. So respiration is defined as the overall exchange of gases between the atmosphere, which means the outside air, the blood, and your cells. And we would think about our cells of our tissues of our body. So there are three components to respiration, and they're separate, but they are related. The first one is called pulmonary ventilation. Pulmonary refers to lungs, and ventilation means breathing. And it's the movement of air between the atmosphere, meaning the outside air, and your lungs. So it's just the movement of air in and out of your lungs. Then part number two is called external respiration, and that is gas exchange between your lungs and the blood. So gas is going from the lungs, for example, oxygen is going from the lungs into your blood, and also at the same time, CO2 is coming out of your blood and going into your lungs, and you're going to breathe it out. Internal respiration is gas exchange between the blood and your body cells within the tissues. So we will explore these as time goes on. But before that, we've got to really talk a little bit about anatomy and some of the function of some of these parts, these anatomical structures that make up the respiratory system. The first part we'll talk about is the conducting pathway, and this is the pathway that carries the air to the lungs. And it's lined by mucous membranes, which help trap particles of dust and dirt and bacteria, that sort of thing. The first part would be the nose, and it's really important because it warms and moistens and filters the air. It's got these nice hairs that you find in your nose that help filter out the really large dust particles. And then it's got mucus, which will moisten the air, and it also helps trap fine particles. Now, in your nasal passages, you have cilia on the epithelial cells, which will move the mucus to the pharynx for elimination. I'll show you an image of that here in just a second. And you've also got nasal conchae, which make the air come in contact with the mucous membrane, and they provide a greater surface area for contact. It's if you think of a snail shell and the way it curves around, it gives a nice, a greater amount of surface area than if it were just a flat surface. As a matter of fact, I'll show you that right now. Let's see this picture, which is a CT scan and showing you the conchae. This here, this would be one of the nasal conchae. There's another one, that's the inferior nasal concha, and the middle nasal, it just shows you a little bit of the middle nasal concha, but they curve around like a snail, like a shell. Okay. Also, your nose is extremely vascular, meaning it's got a rich blood supply. As you probably know if you've ever been punched in the nose or hit your nose, it bleeds very profusely. Well, the vascular nature is important for warming the air as it comes in. All that blood is carrying warmth, and that will help warm the air as it's coming into your body. Also, your nasal cavity has got olfactory epithelium. We learned about that in A&P 1, chapter 17, with the showing you, how those are sensing, helping you with the sense of smell. There are sensory receptors there. And also the nasal cavity is important as a nice resonating chamber for the sound of your voice. If your nose is plugged up, your nasal passages, or if you hold your nose like this, then you have a very strange sound. Okay, this is a nice image showing you the nasal cavity here. It's this whole region here. Then we have actually the area called the pharynx, which is divided into three parts, as we'll see here shortly. This is a picture of your nasal cavity, just a little blow up. It looks like a shag rug, kind of, but it's um, showing you all of the cilia and how they're sticking up here. This is a scanning electron micrograph view showing you the many, many, many cilia in your nasal cavity. And here they are at the edge of this image right here. This is a respiratory cell here and here, an epithelial cell with all the cilia. This is a goblet cell. It does not have cilia. Anyway, and here it's showing you that the cilia, right along this edge of the epithelial cells, will move this layer of mucus up towards the pharynx. And that's how the air, one of the ways your air is cleaned and protected, protecting your deeper respiratory passages from debris and dirt and bacteria and viruses and things like that. Okay. This is an image showing you the different parts of the pharynx, and we'll be going over this in lab, so we won't really take the time, but your nasopharynx is here, up in this region near the nasal cavity. Your oropharynx is in the region of your mouth. You think of oro meaning mouth, right in this region, because it's receiving from the mouth. And then this part of the pharynx is called the laryngopharynx, which is close to the larynx, and the larynx is this region right here. This laryngopharynx will lead you right into the esophagus, and it also can lead you right into the area of your airways, and that's this epiglottis here is really important for closing off the air passage here to keep food and liquids from going down the wrong pipe. Okay, we've looked at this image already. And the pharynx then is an important structure. It's a passageway for both food and air. And again, I mentioned the nasopharynx is the first one. It's close to the nasal area, the nasal cavity. And the soft palate and uvula, the uvula is the very end of the soft palate that hangs down in the back of your throat. Those structures will help block the nasopharynx when you're swallowing, so that when you swallow, this area here, this is your soft palate, and the uvula is the very end of it, it closes off this way to close off your nasopharynx so that when you swallow, what you're swallowing doesn't go back up your nose. Okay, the eustachian tubes or auditory tubes will also open in your nasopharynx region. They function to equalize pressure in the middle ear. And then you have a pharyngeal tonsil called an adenoid that is in your nasopharynx. Your oropharynx has the palatine tonsils and lingual tonsils, and then your laryngopharynx is the closest to the larynx and to the esophagus. So your larynx is also called your voice box. And the epiglottis, again, I showed you that image, it closes off the glottis or the laryngeal opening during swallowing. It's very important that it do that so you don't breathe in liquids or food into your trachea. So the way it does that is that the laryngeal muscles actually elevate or lift up your larynx up to your epiglottis. Let's show you this image. Here is your larynx. When you swallow, this region, this area of your larynx here is actually lifted up by laryngeal muscles, and it's lifted up so that the epiglottis can close over top of it. So this doesn't like shove way down. It's your larynx actually rises up because of the muscles, and it will then be covered over by your epiglottis. Okay. Again, it prevents food from entering the trachea. The larynx is also really important because it produces sounds. The laryngeal muscles will move the arytenoid cartilage, which will pull on the vocal cords that are attached to it. When there's tension on the vocal cords, it will partially close the glottis. And the air that's forced through the glottis will vibrate the vocal cords and produce sounds. And the pitch or the tone is altered by the tension on the cords. So the more tension, the higher the tone, and the less tension, the deeper the tone of your sound of your voice. The loudness is controlled by the force of air through the cords. If I take a deep breath and then I push it through harder, I make a louder noise, and if I push less air through, the loudness is decreased. So there's a nice image showing you your epiglottis here, your vocal cords or vocal folds, and some of your cartilages, which you'll be learning about in lab. I think we're going to stop here, and we'll take up with the trachea here in just the next video. Thank you.